Hi, everybody. My name is Mike Manning.
And I'm Trinity French.
And we are your business coaches at Wired to Change.
With the number 2.
We help you get your business to the levels you want to get it to so you can enjoy the life of a small business owner.
And we're here today with a very, 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 very special guest, my dear friend, business partner, associate, referral guru, networking genius, social media diva, the one, the only, Nichole Crowe with The Home Inspector.
Woohoo!
Yeah, and guess what they do?
Home inspections. Holy crap.
Oh my gosh.
Brain is blown.
Best business name ever. So, Nikki, we love having special guests on, and I had to throw in as many varies as I could in there because, as those of you that have been listening know, Scott keeps track of how many varies. So, hopefully, I gave you more varies than I gave to him, since you two were actually the reason that he and I, he's the reason that you and I met.
Yes, exactly.
And could not be more grateful that he made that introduction, because you have been a huge part of not only my business world, but also a huge part of my personal world. And I love when business and pleasure can mix together and friendships and workships can be born. So before we get started, I wanted to let everyone know that Nikki and her husband, Charlie Crowe, do own The Home Inspector, and they are my go-to home inspection company that I use in my real estate practice. So just putting that out there for you real estate agents that are listening. If you're looking for a great home inspector in the Raleigh-Durham area, they are your go-to team.
And we appreciate the plug. Thank you.
Absolutely, absolutely. So as I mentioned, you're in business with your adorable husband.
Yep.
Tell me about how you guys decided to make the leap into owning your own small business.
Holy crap. How long is the show?
As long as we need.
Oh, man. So for those who don't know Charlie and I, in the business world, I tend to be more of a very realistic planner, where Charlie is very much the dreamer. And in that sense, we balance each other very well. But when it came to this business, Charlie always knew that he wanted to work with me. He wanted us to be a team, and he wanted us to do our own business. I was very happy being in corporate IT sales. I did really well with it. I liked it. I was sickeningly obsessed with it. So the way that we came together was really Charlie. He started the business and was doing really well, and I was helping him on the side kind of grow the business, and it just got to the point where I was doing 100% at work, 100% outside of work, trying to grow our business, and then 100% trying to raise our kiddos. And when you're giving 300%,
there's nothing left.
Yes, you are just done. And then so something had to give, and we set these really high, lofty goals. Okay, if we can meet these goals, then we will both quit our full-time jobs and focus on this full-time. And, you always set the goals so high so you don't feel like you're going to meet them. And crap, if we didn't meet the freaking goals, which is a good thing, but it's also
yes,
it's also kind of a bad thing. But that's how we started.
Okay. So at what point do you think he decided that he wanted you guys to do this together?
From day one.
From day one?
He, not that you're asking about how we met, but he's very much he knew as soon as he saw my photo, we met online dating, that I was to be his. I was not quite there yet, and he knew once we got married that we were meant to be working together. And a lot of it is him. It's he knows that this is what he wants. He knows that we offset each other, really truly yin and yang. Mm-hmm. So it's 100% Charlie Crowe.
That's amazing. That is something that I did not know about you guys prior to rolling into this episode.
And forgive the voice this week. So
sexy.
Say what you want.
Yeah.
Say what you want.
Mike's already gravelly deep voice is accentuated today by a little cold that he caught, or maybe I should say a big cold that he caught.
It's a good one.
Yep. And so you might not be hearing as much from him this week as he tries to conserve his voice power, but he will be chiming in here and there with a good zinger or two.
I'm
some
feeling
questions.
very Kathleen Turner-ish today. So.
I'm laughing because I don't know who that is.
Oh, what?
I just got the eye roll. I have
both.
I don't know who Kathleen Turner is.
Romancing the Stone.
Yeah.
Yeah, nope, no clue.
Deep, raspy voice.
Yeah.
Okay.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Oh,
Totally. That just totally rolled over my head so
I'll
far.
edit this out then, yeah.
No, that's okay. The people love hearing about sometimes
geez.
my idiocy of lack of pop culture knowledge, which we all know is my Achilles heel. I don't know famous. I could run in to the most famous person in the universe and have no idea who they were and probably say something really stupid.
And they would probably adore that versus you fangirling over them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, I secretly just want to hear you say it puts the lotion on its skin.
It puts the lotion on its skin.
Oh, gosh, that is so creepy. So
New
creepy.
soundbite for Wired to change.
There you go.
Absolutely. We are
Did
now
Charlie
a
have the
little,
business idea before the marriage or after?
Charlie definitely, as far as the brains, he is definitely all about being his own boss. And as much as I always thought that was a wonderful concept and a wonderful idea, I just had never really applied it to me. And then when he did it and when he presented it, it was just kind of a no-brainer.
What would you say is the best part about working alongside your husband?
Oh, well, I actually really do love my husband. So the fact that I get to spend more time with him, but it's definitely a catch-22. Because one, if I see a lot of him, it means that I'm not keeping him busy, which is my job, is to keep him booked. So it's, if I see him a lot, then I start stressing a little bit, like, oh my gosh, we're not keeping you busy. And then when I don't see him, I'm like, this is really suck because I'm keeping you so busy and I actually enjoy you.
Right.
But that's really, I feel like the best. And when we partner together on things, sounds cheesy, but it's really cool when I get to see what he's strong in and I get to see what I'm strong in. And when it just pieces together like pieces of a puzzle, like, look, I'm getting goosebumps of it. It's just, I adore that. And I love work. I've always enjoyed being in a team environment, but to know with the man that I chose to team my entire life with, and now I'm able to team our professional life, it's really fulfilling.
So how did you guys come about deciding what each of your roles would look like?
Oh my gosh. not gonna lie, it was a little ugly. So in business, he's very much an A-type personality, which I think would surprise most people because he's probably one of the most laid-back, quietest people you will ever meet until you get to know him. But in business, he's very A-type.
I know him
Yes.
Charlie burned down the dance floor at my wedding. He was nonstop.
I love those pictures.
I do too. And I just... when you get him going, you cannot shut him up, and adore it.
He does break dancing.
He does.
And that was very impressive at his age. Very impressive.
Yes, our first go-away trip, I was dancing, and then I went to, you know how you back up to him, and I went to back up, and I was like, holy crap, there's no one to back up. And then I looked down, he's on the floor, like spinning around.
Yeah.
It was insane. So he's an A-type personality. I'm an A-type personality, and when it comes to business, so originally we definitely clashed heads constantly. We were really lucky, though. We had another couple who are both business owners, amazing people, and we were able to kind of go to them and just kind of soundboard off of them. How did you set these spaces? And I think we knew in our head it was as simple as, Nichole, you're in charge of XYZ, Charlie, you're in charge of XYZ, but we weren't respecting those boundaries. And so you almost have to remember that it is just like another business partnership. If someone is stepping on your toes, you nicely push back to remind them that this is my space, this is your space. For us, too, it was really hard with the family. Like, how do we, you can't help it when you just constantly are talking about business and now you're working together. So now you're talking about business even more. How do we separate that time for business and family? So we actually, I laughed about it to this day, but we actually had to put on our calendar times for business meetings. So we knew when we were talking about actual business, so it wouldn't consume our entire world.
That's great, because that was actually one of our questions, which was, what do you talk about when you get home at night? And at what point does the business talk turn off? So it sounds like you're putting aside time in which to only talk about the business, which frees you up then to not have to worry about it bleeding into the other.
It does. And, and we're definitely not perfect at it. Like yesterday, can I say the F word? Am I getting in trouble?
No, you're not going to get in trouble.
Okay. I was like, babe, I love you, but you're ear fucking me at this point. Like, it's literally like knives inside my brain. I can't handle any more work.
Yes.
And so, you know, we're definitely not perfect, and we definitely have to make sure that we set time. But we're one of those couples, and I want to say we've talked to you and Scott about this, but just it's really important when you get married, and especially when you go down the kiddo route, that you still have date nights. Because without that foundation of who you guys were as a couple, anything you try to build upon it, it's just gonna crash if it's not a good foundation. So for us, it's really important that we try to keep time for both of those.
I think you guys are doing a really great job. Definitely scheduling those things, making sure. I know you do a lot of networking. You're out and about in the community a lot. Yeah. Charlie's schedule with doing home inspections can be all over the place depending on when those inspections need to be. So scheduling and carving out that time for just the two of you, or time for you guys and the kids, is really important.
Get a family shared calendar. I promise you it will save your family, your marriage, your life, etc.
When you guys decided to go into business together, what did the initial business plan and the model, client base, and everything like that look like?
It's funny how that changed.
Good.
You know, it's, I think at first we knew what our goal, like how much money we wanted to make per year. We knew what our average home inspection price was going to be. So we knew how many we had to get per week, per month, per quarter to make our goal. So that number hasn't really changed. We found that to be competitive in our market, we've had to lower our price a little bit. So that number's maybe fluctuated by one more per week. But what's really changed for us is who we're after. You know, most people, when they hear that we're home inspectors, they think automatically you want to be connected with a real estate agent. And yes, in a perfect world, absolutely, send all the real estate agents. But Trinity, you can speak to this. How many times do you guys get approached daily by strangers?
All the frickin' time.
And how often do you respond to those people that are stalking you?
As few as possible.
It depends on how they approach you.
Yeah.
And it really does depend on how they approach me. But for the most part, the people that I bring into my circle, I'm bringing in because they were referred in some aspect. They were introduced to me by somebody else, because I just, at the end of the day, don't have enough time to respond to every single person who's vying for an opportunity. Absolutely. And because I'm a real estate agent, because I'm the point of that arrow when it comes to every time I sell a house, 30 to 60 businesses benefit from it.
Yeah.
So I have mortgage lenders, home inspectors, anyone that's involved in the home process is banging down my door wanting to get in front of me and vying for a bit of that time. I really can appreciate your marketing on the other end in terms of trying to get in front of real estate agents. And we've had a lot of conversations about, well, what's the best way to do that? Yeah. And how do you get in front of those people and differentiate yourself quickly, so that way you're setting yourself apart from the other hundreds of options that are available?
Absolutely. But I would say that really is kind of what changed the most for us, is about who we are targeting and who do we consider our ideal niche. And we went from wanting to be connected directly with real estate agents to really wanting to be connecting with the people that we call connectors, that person in your group that you go to and ask for HVAC service, for, a tree that fell down. Like, those are the people that we want to be connected with, because then we're getting a warm connection and a warm intro. And those are always better than a cold intro.
What would you say, because how long have you been in business now?
Officially since October of 2018.
Okay, congratulations.
Thank you.
You've made it over the first year hump.
My heart's racing just thinking about that.
Yeah, but once you can make it past your first year, you're 50% more likely to make it. Once you can make it past your second year, you're well on your way to being one of the ones that gets past your fifth year, because the retention rate in business drops off drastically between that second and fifth year. So I think that you guys are going to be ones that not only make it, but thrive within your business.
I appreciate that. We're definitely counting down for that 2-year mark.
What would you say in the last 18 months or so was an unforeseen obstacle that you guys ran into, and how did you overcome it?
Gosh, that's a really good question.
Thanks. I'm a business coach.
I think for us, it was, and this may not be the correct way to answer your question, so if it's not, please tell me. I think for us, it was just the idea that we had in our head going forward. Like you asked how our business plan changed. And I think in our head, I'm going, okay, we only need 6 inspections a week. That's like easy breezy, beautiful cover girl, right? Like this is not a problem. And then when we go in and we're realizing, okay, the 6 number, as far as it's very achievable, it's not going to be something we're going to come out the gate hitting. And so I think having to get over that mental, like, you're not failing because you're not hitting your 6. You know, you're still succeeding. Hey, this is your first year and you've done X amount of money. Compare this to the other home inspectors. Compare it to the business that we're retaining and the referrals that we're getting from the existing clients. So I really just think that mindset for us was really that hardest thing to overcome. And I think that's true for most people, whether you're in sales or business or whatever, the mental is the hardest thing to get past.
Oh, for sure. I mean, I know when I started in my first year in selling real estate, there was a lot of pressure that I was up against because I had been in the real estate industry. So I had a bit of an edge, an advantage over a lot of my competition because I wasn't coming into it fresh-faced and not knowing anything. I had the knowledge of the real estate market, and I'd been coaching and training real estate agents on how to sell. I actually had a portfolio of past clients, but it still lingered inside of me that the way that my first year played out was different than what I had thought it was going to be.
Yeah.
And, you know, I didn't hit the goals that I had set my first year. I still did great in terms of industry standards, but to me, it was very disheartening not to hit these giant goals.
Because you're competitive.
That I set. Very competitive, yes. And I don't like losing, even if it's to myself, especially if it's to myself.
Yeah.
So I can totally understand that. And I know Nikki is also highly competitive. We're probably
Try
two
to
of
hide
the...
it, but it like,
It's okay. We still need to have a game night because I'm pretty sure that we would destroy it, or be on opposite teams and have a blast competing against each other. Of all the industries out there, because there's a lot of different stuff that can be done, how did you guys decide? Like, what was your thought process? And how did you come to land on doing home inspections as the industry that you chose to break into?
Really simple story, but funny story. Charlie had been working for Time Warner as an independent contractor for them and really loved it. But then when Time Warner got bought out by Spectrum, the department that he was working on, they laid off that entire team.
Oh,
so
wow.
we went from having 2 amazing careers, 2 amazing salaries to 1 amazing career, 1 amazing salary, but it was really scary. And he had always talked about doing home inspections because he has the 25 years background in construction. He's been, apartment maintenance tags. Like he just loves to fix things. He always tests as a perfectionist as far as personality. So if we were sitting in this room, like he would point out like 10 things like that just weren't perfect. Like that's just how his brain works. And he had always been talking about it. And luckily, even though he had been let go, we were in that position where I was like, babe, take 6 months, figure out what you want to do, and let's make sure it's the right path. And he just kept talking more and more about the home inspection. And I was like, dude, I love you, but if you talk about it one more time, I'm going to smack you in your head. What steps are you taking to get this done? Because this is obviously the step that you want to do it. Go freaking do it before you drive me insane. So he did it and got in class and just absolutely loved it. And that's how we started.
Well, I think a lot of small business owners or people who are thinking about getting into small business don't really know at what point do they make that leap? At what point do they follow that dream or that glimmer of hope or whatever it is that's sort of pushing them towards a certain industry? And did you guys do any industry research, or what steps did you take prior to getting into that industry to make sure that it was the right one for you both?
So when he originally went into it, I was doing, in my head, I'm thinking, well, I still have a full-time job. I make a decent amount of money. For some reason, if he fails, we at least can fall back on the one income. But ultimately what I wanted for him is I wanted him to be happy. He's not a spring chicken anymore. We also have 3 teen boys, and he has 2 adult kids upstate. And I wanted him to have something that he could be proud of and that the kids could be proud of. And they could also see like, hey, this is the American dream. And even if we fail at it, he tried, right? And, I think I've talked to you about that when we first started, was like, oh my gosh, my biggest fear is failure. And I know you and Sam talked about that last week.
Yeah.
But it's just, and I had a couple of really good friends who were like, Nichole, okay, you guys fail, but what if you succeed? And like I have goosebumps just remembering the people that said that to us. And I was like, at this point, we're not really losing anything by him trying. Yeah, there's initial money we have to invest for the classes, their equipment, stuff like that, and the licensing. I just feel like it went really well, and I forgot what the question was.
That's okay. That's okay. And it was really just to figure out what your thought process was before getting started. And it sounds like, and I know just from how meticulous you are, that you guys put a lot of thought into it prior to starting the business. But what I love to see, and what I think is something that other people who are listening to this podcast that are thinking about starting a small business, that you didn't sit there and think on it for 5 years.
Yeah.
You guys saved up the money, had a game plan, and rolled with it. You gave him a 6-month period to figure it out, and then said, okay, we're going to do this, and we're going to just knock it out of the park. And I think that is a key differentiator, because I've seen so many people that have spent way too long hemming and hawing over, when are we going to do this, or are we going to do this? And they lose all of the potential residual income and referrals that they could have been gaining over the years. Like, I look back and I'm like, dang, I really wish that I'd started selling real estate like when I was 20, because I would be like retired and living on a beach in Fiji right now.
5 years ago.
Yeah. Thank you.
You'd be writing your book in New York by now,
I would
right?
be. I would be sitting in New York in a condo or a little loft apartment, smoking cigarettes, drinking martinis, writing the next great American novel. But someday that will be me. I will be doing that. In addition to the goals that you have set for yourselves, what are some big goals that you have set for the business for this year?
We really want to hit our number goal this year. So we really are honing very much in on the 6 inspections a week, the 24 a month. Because
She knows her numbers, ladies and gentlemen.
Oh
my heart just
Absolutely.
went pitter patter.
You're ahead of most small business owners.
Well, I think it helps, coming from an IT sales environment and having to know that it's important that you don't look at your pipeline just this month. You should be looking at your pipeline 3 months out, and really knowing that you have to know those numbers to know if your pipeline is going to succeed. And you guys talked about convertibles and knowing what your closing rate was. And I think that's really important for us as well. So right now I'm actually a little like laser focused about just hitting those numbers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the ability to focus on and keep those numbers top of mind takes away a lot of the stress of running a small business, because the numbers are what the numbers are. And if you have a goal in mind, then it's just a matter of figuring out how are we going to hit that, versus seeing some giant, income number looming about. Looking at, wanting to make 6 figures is pretty daunting. But if you're like, okay, we're at 5 home inspections, where's the 6th one coming from? Is a lot easier to swallow, a lot easier to go after than that big number. So just peeling back those layers and making it something that's achievable on a weekly basis.
Absolutely.
I'm going to jump back real quick to a previous question you had. How did you guys come to the decision of if and when you would leave your full-time job?
So, and that's where, when you talked about researching, I researched the hell out of it. Like I had reached out to a couple other home inspectors. I kind of knew what the average home inspector salary was. And of course, me being the type A female that I am, I was like, well, we can freaking crush that. That's not a big deal. For us, it was a lot of numbers. And you guys talked about how our business plan had changed, and I think a lot of what I originally researched changed as well. Like I thought, if I could get this contract with this nationally known company that worked with Open Door, which we all know our feelings about Open Door. But in my mind, one of the things that we wanted to do was get into this contract with this nationally known company, and I thought if we did this, we were golden. But what I realized is that for us and what we're wanting to accomplish long term, that contract was not actually the best move for us. So I think just moving forward and knowing was, again, just hitting those goals that we had originally planned. Honestly, I think it was just having a little bit of faith in my husband and having a little bit of faith in me as well, and just knowing that we have the chance right now to take it and to try it. And why not take the chance and try it? It's not like we're woke up one night or one morning and decide, hey, we're going to quit our whole lives, put the future of our 3 kiddos up to, be homeless. So, so we definitely put some thought behind it, but I'm the type where I don't like to over talk about things. It drives me crazy. Like my girlfriend's taking me shopping with them all the time because they know if you tell me you're out here for a dress and this is what you're after, guess what? I don't care that you want to look at purses. We're going to get the freaking dress and we're going to be in and out within 30 minutes. Like I like to keep things moving.
Yes.
That was a long ass answer for your question, wasn't it?
Nope.
I love your long ass winded answers. So, Nikki.
Yes. Trin.
One of my favorite things to help small business owners do is review their profit and loss statement, and also to actually create and review regularly their business plan. And you actually came to our small business seminar where we talked about goal setting and business planning. So as a small business owner, how often are you looking at and reviewing your P&L and your business plan?
First of all, for those who have not attended the Wired to Change planning sessions or any type of coaching sessions, please do. And no, Trin and Mike did not know that I was saying that. And they both kind of just giggled. But it truly was so important to us. I appreciate you giving us the opportunity to do that, because if nothing else, it gave us that time to set aside for that. Because I think in theory, we all think, oh, I'm going to have time to do this. And what happens is we don't put it at the top of our priority list. And so when something else comes up that we think is more important, it keeps getting put down and down on our list. And so I have to admit that we had not taken the time to prioritize that for 2020. So y'all session gave us the chance to prioritize it. But as far as the profit and loss, because I am so focused on the numbers, we're probably looking at a little more than we should. It's kind of like when you're trying to lose weight, they tell you not to step on the scale like every single day.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I'm trying to look at it weekly and not daily. But I
wouldn't recommend daily.
I know.
Yes.
I'm just so determined to make our goals this year that I can't help but be glued to those numbers. And
I'm going to tell Charlie to change the password.
Well, and I would challenge
three times a
you
week.
to really think about your driving numbers that drive that P&L.
yeah.
So it's great to review P&L. I'm so happy that you're actually doing that. So kudos. I'm giving you a round of applause, because so many business owners do not regularly review their profit and loss statement. But I would challenge you and Charlie to pick one of your leading indicator numbers and see what happens to your business and the growth of your business if you focus on your leading indicators for a month, because your profit and loss is gives you, it's like being on the scale, right? It shows you what's already happened.
Yeah.
But a leading indicator number, that's like counting your calories. That's going to be something that's going to control where you're going to end up at the end of the month.
Yeah. That's really good advice. Thank you. And it's something that I'm sure Charlie, after he listens to this, will remind me of.
Yes, I'm sure he will, because he's such a good little coachee.
Oh my gosh.
You're going to hear forever for me saying that. All right. So before we wrap up this episode, I have a question for you about us. So you're sitting here with two, I think, pretty great coaches.
Absolutely.
So if you had one question that could be answered by us, or a question that you think our listeners would like to know the answer to, what would that be?
I would really because I know you guys have both created companies that have been successful. And being in the networking world, we are constantly coming up and being approached by business coaches. And I'm definitely not downplaying the other business coaches, but one of the first questions I ask is what company, or tell me your history. What have you successfully started? And if they can't answer those questions for me, I know you've talked about the left pocket and the right pocket. Their card automatically goes in the pocket that I don't want to follow up with.
Right.
And so I feel like for you guys, I just love to hear your history, because I think from y'all's history, there's so much that we can learn from it. So from you guys, and I don't know how much time we have, but I would love to hear about your one greatest success, and then the greatest failure that you have, because as you guys know, a failure is only a failure if we don't learn from it.
I'll jump in real quick because I'll be short. Best thing I learned was I'm better with someone else. My brother and I started 2 businesses. They did well. I started 2 on my own. They went okay. I didn't enjoy it as much. I didn't have anybody to work with. And now working with Trinity, I feel like I'm back in that teamwork part of it. The one decision I wish I had back was my first business. I bought a coin laundromat. No problem with that. It was 50 miles from the house in Daytona Beach. That was the problem. I just blew through like 3 red flags that my brother told me not to blow through, and I shouldn't have done that. So that's my advice to everybody. If you see the red flag, as my brother tells me in the business world, don't love something that doesn't love you back. And 50 miles away wasn't loving me back, but I just wanted to own my first business.
Well, in Daytona Beach, 50 miles is what, an hour and a half?
That was inland. That was straight inland.
Oh my gosh.
Yep.
Woo!
Yep.
You couldn't pay me to do that.
No.
I did go by a place where you could drive through and buy liquor, so that's a cool thing about Florida.
Ooh,
Yeah.
and driving, that
was
great.
perfect. Perfect, yeah.
Sometimes the successes that are the greatest are not necessarily the things that we do that have the biggest financial impact or the biggest impact on the most number of people, but something that stands out to me is the reason that I love coaching and I love working with people who are in business for themselves is it's like I'm a cocoon. And I can come in and wrap myself around somebody and help them go through this metamorphosis that allows them to come out the other side a completely changed person. And one of the first real estate agents that I was able to work with, we were coaching, and there were 2 times in our coaching sessions that really stood out to me, and it had absolutely nothing to do with the numbers and nothing to do with the spreadsheets and nothing to do with the data, which is what most people think that I like to focus on. The one is when he came in and he just had a look of pure panic on his face, and I looked at him and I said, "Your wife's pregnant, isn't she?"
Oh gosh.
And he's like, "How did you know?" And I said, "Well, people only come in with that look on their face for one of 2 reasons." And that was one of them. It was the first thing that popped in. And he was like, "Yep." And so we had to completely revamp his plan and his financial plan. But I felt so honored that I was the first person that he shared that with after his wife. And actually, that same agent, another coaching session, he came in, and again, nothing to do with the numbers, nothing to do with anything that any systems or things that I'd helped him to put into place. But he came in one day and he said, one of the first things that I told him when we started coaching is that he needed to meet with his financial advisor. He needed to get his life insurance in place, make sure this health insurance, because being a small business owner, you're responsible for doing all these things. And he came into my office and with the biggest smile on his face said, "Trinity, I just bought life insurance for me and my wife. We have health insurance in place." And he just started crying. And he's like, "I've never felt so good that I've hit all my financial goals. Everything's in place and my family is fully protected." And that to me was the biggest success. So it wasn't, growing a company from 7 agents to, a team of 60. Like, yeah, those things are cool, but it's those little wins where you truly are having such a strong impact on something that could really change somebody's life that have been those pivotal moments in my career.
Love it.
Failures, Jesus Christ, I've had like a gazillion of them. I don't even know which one to pick. I would say that early on in my career, one of the biggest failures that I faced repeatedly was I was so excited about the opportunity that was available for people to be in business for themselves that I was not as good at interviewing and coaching people out of the business fast enough. So actually, Mike calls me Dr. No now because I've gotten really good at helping people to get out of business or not get in business and get in over their heads if they're not cut out for it. Nice. And not everybody is cut out to be in business for themselves. It's really freaking hard. It's there's a big uphill battle. You're pushing a giant boulder up a giant hill, and it is okay. We need people who are really good at working in the corporate world and that are really great at having day-to-day jobs. And I love those people, and some of them are my favorite clients, but not everyone is cut out to be a small business owner. So I'd say those are some of my biggest failures, was, not helping them get out fast enough. So one last question for you, Nikki.
Okay.
You and Charlie are both strong-headed. You're both A-type personalities. And you're in this business together 50-50. So who breaks a tie vote in your household?
Who thinks they break the... Anyone who's ever watched my Big Fat Greek Wedding, you're going to be very familiar with what I'm about to say. I'm a big believer that the woman should always be the neck, and we allow the man to be the head. Here's the thing, though. Without the neck, there's nothing for the head to sit on. Without the neck, the head does not know which direction they are turning. So the proper way for me to answer this is he always wins, of course, because I'm a loving wife. But he is heavily persuaded.
I love it. I absolutely love it. Well, it has been an absolute pleasure having you on this episode, and I am super pumped about our next episode that you're also going to share with us. We are going to be talking all about networking and social media, which Nichole is fabulous at both of those. So I can't wait for you to share with our listeners. And of course, we want you to like us. We want you to share us. We want you to go out there on the webosphere and do all of the things that Mike is laughing because I'm totally destroying all the things that you're supposed to do. Like, share, and comment,
rate,
and review.
Subscribe.
Yeah, we need to write that down for me. You should do all those things because we love to communicate back with you. So if you email us, info@wiredtochange.com, or send us a tweet, send us an Instagram, we will absolutely love for you to rate, review, and subscribe. Thank you for listening to us on our Wired to Change podcast.